was operational. 90% of it was operational. No questions answered about the financial data for previous years, but I will probably turn it over to Katrina to talk a little bit more about it.
I'm going to kind of give a little bit of an overview for the benefit of the public as well. I know Brandy's done a lot as far as trying to put out information on Facebook and on our website and anywhere else she can. But I think it's good to review the variances that we found in 2023 and 2025. As Christian highlighted, we sent those reports over to the county to ask them basically if they could give it an accounting of the specific line items that did not match up with the report for 6C. So the documents that were shared with the public through Brandy, it is a basic overview of the 2023 financial report. One that was provided to the 6C Oversight Committee that is responsible for overseeing those funds and making sure they're being spent in Pueblo West. And then the other one is through audited numbers that are either in their audit books or through their budget books. So for 2023, what was reported to 6C was total expenses of $2.7 million. What we found, though, is the audited financials for 2023 for Pueblo West roads was about $5.4 million, which is a difference of $2.7 million. So that was a huge variance. That's our Pueblo West residents' taxpayer dollars that are not properly accounted for. So we went and did an audit of each particular line item to see where that money, like where the discrepancies were located. Nearly $1 million of it was between Pueblo West Metro shop acquisition and land acquisition, which part of the IGA was we gave them the Pueblo West Metro shop. So we had concerns and questions in regards to that, and we sent over a list of those questions, basically asking for a detailed reconciliation by fund for each of those differences. Those are some of the answers that we have not yet received. Moving into 2025, there's another big variance. What was reported to 6C was total expenditures about $8 million, but what was estimated in the 2025, I'm sorry, what was in the 2026 budget for estimated expenses in 2025 was just shy of $5 million. So again, that's a difference of about $3 million. So it brings up questions as to how they are actually allocating the funds and how they are accounting for them. What we did see in Troy's presentation was that they do intend to reassign some of the expenses to Pueblo West, which would bump it up to that $8 million that was originally reported to the 6C Oversight Committee. But it's not clear as to why those funds were not originally allocated, why were they originally allocated to United, and now they're being moved into Pueblo West Fund. So we have a lot of questions in regards to how these funds are actually being tracked. And what the plan is for the future to ensure that our taxpayer dollars are being properly accounted for.
Agreed.
What is really concerning about it is at the end of 2023, based on the reports that they gave to the 6C Oversight Committee, we should have had a fund balance of, I think it was $2.3 million or so. $2.3 million. Obviously, that was later audited to show that there was higher expenses, and so the fund balance disappeared. But in subsequent meetings with the 6C Oversight Committee, people asked, where is that fund balance? What kind of happened with that? And we did not get answers for that. And as a member of the 6C Oversight Committee, I'm not, but as a member, I would want to know exactly if there were changes in the numbers that were received. And that was never received. The 2023 transparency report, the 2024 transparency report did not show any changes in those original numbers that were reported. And that would have been the opportunity for Pueblo County to come forward and say, hey, in the audit, we captured that there was additional expenses that we didn't anticipate or that we had accounted for in the wrong fund. And that never happened. So at this point, we're just wanting those questions answered and making sure that we can properly track the funds that were received through the 6C sales tax. A separate part of that is we want to move forward and make sure that we are getting appropriate funding for the Pueblo West roads. So the IGA, let me pull up the actual language in the IGA. It stipulates that Pueblo County has determined and the district acknowledges and understands that the Pueblo West HUTF funds and the tax will not be sufficient to pay for all the maintenance repairs and improvements contemplated in ballot 6C and by this agreement. The parties recognize that residents of the district pay general taxes to the county, which have historically been used for maintenance of roads within the county and will now also be used for the roads within the district. So our chief concern right now is we are seeing expenses that pretty much line up like directly with the HUTF fees, the motor vehicle sales tax, motor vehicle fees, and then the sales tax. Those basically account to about $5.86 million or so over the years. And so what we're seeing is those expenses matching up directly with that. But our residents also pay county property taxes, and they also pay sales tax that goes into the overall United Fund for Road and Bridge. And so we should have a portion of that. And Pueblo County has not been able to show that they've transferred or allocated any of those funds for that purpose. One of the chief things that they said during the joint meeting is that we have the Pueblo West Road and Bridge Fund, which is tracking about that amount year over year, matching up with the sales tax and HUTF fees. But they're also saying that some of the funding is coming from the United Fund. During the last 6C road sales tax meeting, let me pull this up real quick. They showed that, and this is from January through June 30th, they showed that total expenses in Pueblo West, including United, was about $2.5 million. So that's halfway through the year. You double that, you're right about $5 million, which is the equivalent of our road sales tax and HUTF fees. So the chief concern is we need equitable funding. And one of the things that we highlighted is seeing that we have about a third of the roads in Pueblo County, we should get a third of the funding for total road and bridge fund in Pueblo County. However, there was a little bit of pushback on that because not all roads are made equal. Some of them cost more to update. And so our main, I guess, divergence from that is if 33% is not fair, okay, tell us what your methodology is. Tell us what is appropriate.
Yep.
But 0% of the Pueblo County Road and Bridge Fund as a whole is not acceptable, especially as our taxpayers approved that 6C road sales tax, understanding that it was supposed to be in addition to the general fund contributions for Pueblo County. So that's in a nutshell where we're at. And we want to get this information out to the public because ultimately this is your taxpayer dollars. And the county, I understand, the difficulty in transitioning from a new financial system, but ultimately as a government, you have the responsibility to ensure that you are properly accounting for the taxpayer dollars of your constituents. And so
Absolutely.
that's not